Over the past few years, since the pandemic, I've watched a lot of movies. IMDb provides data to research. There are streaming platforms, and sometimes I even pirate. I've seen movies from South Asia, East Europe, Argentina, Brazil, Scandinavia, France, England, the US. Many are lower budget, but I can use the aggregated opinions and critics to guide to pretty good selections. I've learned some things from watching I'd like to share. Two movies. Neither movie is a classic, but the first is a Shakespeare adaptation. Macbeth is the story of a general, the best soldier in Scotland of his day. He's ambitious, superstitious, and heavily influenced by his wife, which together cause him to murder the king and usurp the throne. And so at this point, we see someone who's committed criminal acts, and maybe things will settle down. But though Macbeth looks like a murderous ruler, behaves like he's immoral, he's just as human as anyone. He knows he's guilty. He's paranoid and orders the assassinations of any who might expose him. Macbeth spreads his guilt to his supporters, making them fear any outsider. Shakespeare shows that people we assume are just bad, evil leaders are humans with conscience too. So after they commit crimes, part of their need is to spread their guilt to others. I, like you, have watched a leader accused of criminal activity tell supporters the justice system is coming after them, not just him. And many interpret this as an effort to make supporters feel outrage. But Macbeth showed me something I had never considered. This leader telling supporters that justice is after them is saying, at least in his own mind, that they are as guilty as he is, spreading his guilt. In fact, people don't object to the evil things their colleagues or leaders do. If they don't object to that, they feel complicit. Macbeth made me realize that when a leader, whether it's a gang, an army unit, an institution, a country, does evil or criminal activity, they feel guilty just as we would. And they have a need, maybe like all of us, to spread their guilt, to force other people to feel guilty, maybe even commit violent or criminal acts. It's a feed-forward loop that propels and maybe explains how armies and cartels and countries can commit egregious crime. There's a term called gaslighting, which means making someone think they're crazy. And the term is based on a film, Gaslight, in which Ingrid Bergman's husband makes her think she's crazy. I think there should be a term called Macbething, which describes a leader who tries to spread their guilt. The other movie that influenced me is a much happier one. It's called Land of the Gods, a movie by a Serb who actually concerns an Indian man who returns from his adult life in England to his natal village in the Himalaya. Most of the movie details issues of caste and gender, child marriage, and whether the man committed taboos and violated a crime in his youth. But another story emerges. It turns out he's going blind. In the first 20 years of his life, he absorbed the beauty of his surroundings. The place is called the meeting of heaven and earth, and it looks like that. Near the end, we realize the man has returned because when he sits before this vista, he knows the smells that belong there, of the rocks and plants, the sounds that are part of it, of the water. Because he knows those smells and sounds where they belong, he can fill in with his mind's eye the rest of the place. And it's not a fantasy. He is in that place with that view and he knows it. That's enough for him to see it. This hit home. I have a friend, a doctor who still practices in his 70s. About 5 years ago, he went blind. I asked him how it affected his relationship with his wife. He confided to me that it It was nice. When he heard her voice, felt her touch, in his mind's eye, he saw the young woman he first knew. It wasn't a fantasy. She was there. That was the missing piece. That's what he saw. I think the movie Land of the Gods helped me understand what he described to me. And sadly, his wife died from a COVID-related illness. Now that she's gone, he doesn't see this image. It wasn't something he made up or invented. It was what reality presented. Our image system uses a lot of memory to fill in what we think we see. And for some people who go blind, it does this even better. Not only to create not to create an imaginary world, but to show the part that's missing. So these movies have taught me a few things. I understand better how leaders snowball their malevolent guilt because it soothes their guilty conscience. We prefer to see people who do these things as if they don't have a conscience, but they do. They are Macbething. I also realize that when we lose the full experience of something, memory is really important to fill in what's missing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brad.